Welcome back to Reviewing with an Advantage. This episode, we're going to be reviewing Laser Kittens by Stentor, Danielson, and Cheyenne Grimes. The book starts with an introduction that details the following information. It tells you a bit about the Knoll Street School for Wayward Kittens, which is the default setting for Laser Kittens. It also tells you a bit about collaborative storytelling. That's right, in this game there's no one GM. Instead, you take turns to being class captain. The introduction also details a few of the basic rules of improv. The introduction then continues with an overview of the game. Since this game is meant for one-shots, there are only 7 steps to it. The setup, in which each player is dealt a hand of cards, which the resolution mechanic relies on. Character creation, in which each character shortly creates a kitten with laser powers. The scene setup, in which the class captain describes and sets up the scene. Playing the scene, in which all the players and the class captain play out what happens in the scene. After playing the scene, the lessons should be learned, in which the class captain's role is switched and players are rewarded or punished for their kitten's behavior. Then, you repeat steps 3 to 5 until all the lessons are learned. Afterwards, each character narrates his own kitten's epilogue in finding a forever home. Following the introduction comes a short overview of the Knoll Street School for Wayward Kittens, which is actually based upon a real-life foster home for kittens in Canada. This chapter also includes the basic rules of the game and an overview of what a kitten should be doing at the Knoll Street School. That is, learning their lessons, taking their classes, and going on wacky adventures. Setting up the game is also dependent on this chapter. There is a sketch of the Knoll Street School provided, and situations, NPCs, and classes which are given from lists with corresponding cards in order for you to populate them. This system of house population gives you a near different result every time, ensuring randomness and a fun one-shot for each time you play. Next comes the chapter on lasers, the crux of the game. Each laser should rhyme with pew pew pew, like hoo hoo hoo, toot toot toot, zoo zoo zoo, and so forth and so forth. The mechanics for lasers are short and sweet. Each player is dealt a hand of 5 cards, which he does not know their value. Whenever he wants to use his laser, he flips over all 5 cards and sums them, with blacks being positives and reds being negatives. There are no face cards in this deck, no jokers, and aces count as 1. Throughout the scene, each player's cards will be slowly turned up, so that his uncertainty about his laser's ability and capacity will slowly be lessened. After each scene, the class captain deals each player a card which he then can swap out from his own laser. Afterwards come the rules for conflict resolution. Conflict is a bidding system in which each player can bid from his hand, and the class captain should bid against them from a hand of 3 cards he draws from the deck. Characters can get an advantage or a disadvantage depending on the classes they know and the grades they have in that class. For example, negotiating with the rats in the wall could relate to political science. If a character has an A in political science, he gets a bonus. He draws 2 extra cards with which he can bid. If he has a C in political science, he gets a penalty. He sets aside 2 random cards from his hand before bidding. If he has a B, then no modifiers are applied. There is a short chapter about fighting and wrestling, even though that is definitely not the focus of this game, to say the least. In this chapter, a plethora of alternatives to fighting are offered, making a discovery, making new friends, and so on and so forth are all offered as alternatives to fighting it out. However, if you wish to fight in this game, again, not advised, wants to see kittens get hurt. You have no injury system. Instead, all injuries should be related to the story. This throws us back to the rules of improv given in the introduction. Whenever something bad happens to your kitten, say yes and. Yes, my kitten falls, and now he limps and he's slower. Afterwards comes a chapter on being a class captain. This is a very essential chapter, especially to old-fashioned gamers like me who aren't used to the collaborative storytelling theme. I'm used to one game master, players, an ongoing campaign. So this book, when I backed it on Kickstarter, was pretty new to me. Having a storyteller that shifts throughout scenes, having characters that don't go on with you in advance, are all very new to me. However, I found that I did enjoy this style of play. The book ends with a chapter on epilogues. After all the scenes are done, each player gets to narrate his own kitten's epilogue. That is, his going back from the foster home, Knoll Street School, to the shelter, and from there being adopted. This is actually a pretty cute part of the game that lets each character achieve his own closure, even though the game is a one-shot. So, in conclusion, the good about Laser Kittens, it's adorable, it has kittens in it, and it's pretty fun altogether. The neutral about Laser Kittens, it's meant for one-shots. Some people prefer this, some people don't. They do have rules for ongoing campaigns with the same kittens, but these aren't very comprehensive. The bad, there's not much to say in this part. The book sets out to do a very specific thing, and it succeeds in that, providing a cute, fun, wacky way to pass a one-shot. However, the book is quite absurd in its theme, and not everyone will like that. And there is no introductory scenario, which is a shame. I think that it could have added a lot to the book in a few short pages. So, final thoughts. I would recommend this to anyone who likes kittens, likes light-hearted styles of play, and is okay with collaborative storytelling and improv. People who prefer more serious-toned or heavy campaigns, I'd stay away from this unless you have an open mind. That's it for this time with Reviewing with an Advantage. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.